Most people think teaching sex ed to autistic kids is harder. But what if I told you it might actually be easier? Autistic thinking, it isn't a barrier, it's a blueprint. And when you use your child's natural learning strengths, the way their brain already processes information, sex ed becomes clearer, calmer, and way more effective. I've seen this firsthand both as an autistic mum and as a nurse and a sex educator who's been working with families for over 25 years. Truth is that most sex education's designed for neurotypical brains. It assumes kids can read between the lines, pick up on tone, and understand vague social rules. Neurodivergent kids often process the world differently, and this means that they benefit from a more tailored approach to sex education. And here's the key: this isn't about simplifying the content, it's about simplifying the communication. And once you understand how the brain learns best, sex ed suddenly becomes clearer, calmer, and a whole lot more effective. So let's unpack what those strengths actually are and how to use them to make sex ed work better for your family. But first, we're going to look at why traditional sex ed doesn't work for our autistic and ADHD kids. Here's the thing: most traditional sex ed assumes social intuition. It expects kids to just get it when we say things like, you'll know when you're ready, or use your common sense. But many autistic and ADHD kids don't pick up on those social subtleties. They need clarity, not clues. So when sex ed is vague or abstract, it just doesn't teach, creates confusion and anxiety. And that's why I always say, and I mean this, the autistic way of teaching sex ed actually works better for everyone. When we remove the guesswork and focus on honesty, structure, and repetition, kids feel safe. And safety is what allows real learning to happen. So let's look at how their unique thinking styles can actually make them fantastic learners when we teach in the right way. Autistic and ADHD brains often shine in ways that traditional education overlooks. Visual thinking, rule based logic, strong memory, having that laser focus. These aren't barriers, they're teaching superpowers. So let's start with visual learning. Many autistic kids are visual thinkers. They remember what they see far more than what they hear. I remember one parent who'd been trying for weeks to explain private parts to her son. He just stared at her blankly, and then she pulled out a set of paper dolls and pointed, and suddenly it clicked. So visuals can turn abstract ideas into something real. Next, we can look at rule-based thinking, because kids who love structure thrive when we turn safety and consent into clear rules. So if someone says stop, then you stop. When you need privacy, you go to the bathroom or your bedroom. Rules make invisible social boundaries visible, and that builds safety. Then there's special interests. They're not a distraction, they're a doorway. If your child loves trains, Minecraft, or animals, connect your lessons to those themes. A train-loving child might understand boundaries as knowing which carriages are off limits. A Minecraft fan might relate to building relationships. You build trust block by block. And for the animal-loving child, a chat about how animals reproduce can easily lead into how animals do. Just got to quickly show you this book, Do Animals Fall in Love? It's absolutely gorgeous. And it is all about animals and how they reproduce and stuff. So, books like this are just fantastic. I remember one parent telling me that she used her child's love of computers to explain consent, talk about thinking outside the box. She said, you can't just click on someone else's file. And her son paused, thought about it and said, oh, so you need permission first. Bang, lesson learned. And finally, rote memory. Many autistic kids can memorize exact words or steps. So let's use that to teach important safety phrases or consent scripts that they can recall automatically when it matters most. So things like, my body belongs to me, I can say no, I tell a trusted adult, or these are my trusted adults, and rattle the names off. Repetition isn't always boring for autistic kids. It can be reassuring, and it turns information into safety. Now, in a second, I'm going to explain why this way of teaching doesn't just work for autistic kids, and it actually makes sex ed easier for every family. Here's a strong opinion of mine, and it's one I'll happily defend. Neuro-affirming sex ed isn't a niche, it's just good teaching. And when lessons are structured, literal, and emotionally safe, every child benefits, not just neurodivergent ones. Predictability, honesty, and repetition are universal learning tools. So, literal doesn't mean cold, it means safe. And when kids know exactly what words mean, they relax and they trust you and they can focus on understanding instead of guessing. And if you've ever been worried that being this direct will take away their innocence, it won't. It removes confusion. Clarity isn't harsh, it's actually kindness. So, what does teaching the autistic way actually look like at home so you can start applying it without feeling like a teacher? Keep your language literal and clear. Use visuals, books, drawings, or even stick figures on a scrap of paper. Turn big, fuzzy ideas into concrete examples or steps. And repeat key messages often, calmly, and casually. And most of all, drop the pressure to get it perfect. You don't have to be an expert. Not at all. You just need to be able to teach in a way that fits how your child learns. And once you do that, those conversations stop feeling like uphill battles and start feeling like small wins. So that's why neurodivergent brains need a different approach to sex ed and why this approach actually works better for everyone. Autistic and ADHD kids aren't hard to teach. They just need information that's calm, concrete, and connected to how their brain naturally learns. Because when you teach this way, your child doesn't just memorize the facts, they truly understand them. And that understanding is what keeps them safe, confident, and connected to you. So, next time you wonder whether your autistic child can understand sex ed, remember, they absolutely can. You just need to teach it in a way that their brain understands. And by the way, if you're waiting for the right age to start sex education, click on the video on the screen right now, and I'll show you when autistic kids are really ready for sex ed.